person who knew and admired Nick Buoniconti is my CBS 4 Sports colleague, Kim Bokamper. He is live right now in David Dolphins training camp. Kim, thanks for joining us. Nick was ending his career as you were beginning yours with the Dolphins. What was your very first impression of him?
Well, I met Nick in 1976. I came in as a linebacker to the Dolphins. We had a rash of injuries. Nick had retired, and they brought him back, so I had the opportunity to kind of spend some time with Nick in meeting rooms and watching him go about his business. And first thing that hits you about Nick, he was a very intelligent guy. He was like a coach on the field. In fact, he's the first time I was ever in a meeting room where a player was smarter than the coach that was teaching the players out there, and that's just the way he was. He played with a fury that kind of outmatched his size. Played at about 5'10", 205 pounds. And just for comparison, Kyler Murray, the first pick in this year's draft, a quarterback, about the same size as Nick Buoniconti, but wow. Nick goes on to become a five-time All-Pro, a Hall of Famer, and like the package before, overshadowed his career by what he did in the community with the Miami Project, became a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, was on HBO inside the NFL for about 20 years, an attorney, an accomplished attorney. So here's a guy that football was such a minor part of his life. Everything else beyond it was much bigger, yet he was a Hall of Famer at that small part of his life.
Yeah, and you talk about how smart he was, Kim, and I'm still fascinated by the fact that he became a lawyer while he was a player. I've never heard of that. We're looking at him being honored as one of the 50 greatest Dolphins of all time, and obviously he certainly deserved that honor. But you knew him, the personal side of Nick Buoniconti. He had character, but he was also a bit of a character, wasn't he, Kim?
Yeah, he was a classy guy, but he had a little way about him. All those guys in that football team, that no-name defense, that really was the engine that drove that undefeated season for the Miami Dolphins, and he was clearly the leader of that. And just like everyone else on that team, liked to have a good time, liked to take a shot at Coach Shula every now and then, and some of the other guys. But when it came time to take care of business, Nick was there to do it. And the lasting memory I'll have of Nick is that picture of him standing on the field, always when he was near the huddle, legs crossed, hand on one hip, just waiting for the next play to come on. You always wondered what was going on through his mind, but the one thing you knew was going on, he was going to be prepared and ready to take care of what was in front of him, no matter what was his next play, his next job, his next career move, or whatever he did with his family. Just an amazing guy, and I feel very fortunate to be able to say that I knew him and I considered him a friend.
Kim, we got about a minute to go here. Let's talk quickly about the image that a lot of people remember of Nick Buoniconti, and sadly that was near the end of his life when he came public about his deteriorating health. How brave of him was it to do that?
Well, I think Nick, like he's been his whole life, does things for others and was thinking about others. And I'm sure he was thinking about himself and what the challenges that he was going to face, but he also wanted to bring those challenges out to the forefront with everything that's going on in the National Football League. And look, you don't have to be a player in the National Football League to get dementia, Alzheimer's. So he's able to kind of cross boundaries and bring this disease out in front of people and get a conversation going. As we've seen with cancer and so many things in our life, conversation, talk, getting it out to the public, doing things to bring money to it, to help research, all those things have worked, and he was a big part of creating that down here in South Florida, particularly with the Miami Project.
Well said. Thank you. Kim Bokamper, thank you, man, for offering that reflection on Nick Buoniconti. And stay with CBS 4 News on air and online for much more on the legendary life of this great former Miami Dolphin.